Welcome to the School Leadership Show. I'm Mike Dowdy. This is the only podcast dedicated to helping practicing and aspiring school leaders realize their potential, advance their careers, and achieve work-life balance. We bring together the greatest minds from inside and outside of education to deliver you the insights and tools you need to succeed in school leadership. This is the show we wish we had 20 years ago. This show is about you. We're here to help you become the best school leader you can be while still having a life outside of work. In this episode, I interviewed Jill Pancoast from The Breakthrough Coach. The training that she describes in the interview has helped tens of thousands of school administrators all over the world get out of their offices and spend more time in classrooms where the real work of school is going on. We talk about the characteristics of effective school administrators, developing a results orientation, minimizing distractions in your work environment, and much more. You can learn more about Jill and The Breakthrough Coach at the-breakthrough-coach.com. Enjoy this interview with Jill Pancoast. So I'm here with Jill Pancoast from The Breakthrough Coach. Welcome, Jill.
Hi, thanks for having me today.
I am thrilled that you took some time to be able to talk to aspiring and practicing school leaders about how they can be more efficient and effective. So if you could, tell listeners a little bit about your background and your work with The Breakthrough Coach.
Sure. So I've been involved in professional development for managers and executives since about 1994. I had been doing executive coaching throughout the late 90s when I met Malachi Pancoast, my husband now. We founded The Breakthrough Coach in 2001, and at the time, our objective was to translate our knowledge of effective business management practices to the education environment. In the early years of our consulting firm, I co-wrote and delivered TBC presentations with Malachi, and we traveled and presented together quite often. But then after we had children, I really needed to reduce my time away from our house, so I started doing more coaching via phone with our clients, and then eventually synthesized what I had learned from all of my coaching experiences into the Breakthrough Coach podcast support series. And the podcast support series has become one of our products, which is now distributed to all of our program graduates. So today, I write TBC courses and I train our leader body team to present our work throughout the United States. And I'm more home-based as I continue to train people throughout the organization to actually deliver our work.
And in full disclosure, I participated in Breakthrough Coach training March, I think, earlier this year. So
yes, March in Rochester, right?
So, all right. So, what is it? What is the Breakthrough Coach? What are you teaching people in these professional development sessions and coaching?
Yeah. So the Breakthrough Coach is a management consulting firm. We work strictly in education, working with instructional leaders. The purpose of our work is really to teach school administrators and their secretaries how to implement management strategies in the front office that ultimately free the administrator up from the technical work of the front office, or what we call the administrivia of the front office, and allows them instead to spend 2 full days each week out in classrooms where they can really focus on improving curriculum and instruction.
So your work then isn't necessarily about what the administrators are doing when they're not in their offices. You're just trying to get them out of their offices.
Yeah, so our motto for the company these days is "so you can," right? Our work is all about freeing up administrators from what's happening in the front office so they can empower their staff, so they can train and develop their teachers, so they can be out in classrooms, so they can be doing the work that they've been actually hired to do.
So, Jill, how many people have been trained by the Breakthrough Coach in the last 15 years?
Yeah, so over the last 15 years, we've amassed approximately 70,000 graduates, both nationally and internationally. When we started on the West Coast in Southern California because that's where we lived. And since California, has an eighth of the school-going population in the United States, we had a lot of work in California. It's just very dense. So when we work in California and we're there several times a year, we've got 40 to 50 teams in every course, and they're sold out. From California, we then started taking on work in the Pacific Northwest Denver, Minneapolis area. So we did a lot of our initial work from Denver west, Midwest west, and those areas continue to be our most loyal following of people, where we have the largest courses.
So what are some of the things that you teach school administrators and their secretaries? Let's get right into it.
So we've developed a program called How to Work Less, Produce More, and Still Get the Job Done in a Sensible School Week. And this program has a track record of multiplying the time principals spend in classrooms by about 500% or more each week, and reducing their overall workloads by about 15 to 20 hours per week. And then what happens is, if you get a solid instructional leader who really knows what they're doing around instruction, who's working a sensible work week and taking care of themselves and spending that much time in classrooms, what you see is huge jumps in student achievement over time. So the core training that's at the heart of what we do is a 2-day training in which we introduced over 2 days our theory of school management combined with the practices that will give administrators 2 days a week in classroom. And it's deliberately designed for the principal and secretary to participate in together. The principal can't get the results we're talking about without learning to work in a new way and in partnership with their secretary.
And what's that new way look like?
Well, first of all, in this training, we get these administrators crystal clear both what the job of a school leader is, but more importantly, what it isn't, so that they're finally able to wrap their arms around, understand what the job of principal is and what it isn't. Because part of what's going on with principals today is that the principalship is so really ill and broadly defined that many administrators think that the way to win at work is simply by doing everything, hoping that whatever they're doing is somehow going to cover it, which is why they can't focus on the real task at hand, which is the instructional leadership. They're just attempting to cover way too many bases, many of which are really the jobs of their secretaries and clerical staff. But they can't see this, and they have no skill at delegating, and those two together are really a recipe for disaster. So first off, we get them crystal clear. This is what the job is. This is what the job isn't, such that they never see their role in the same way again. And that's the part of the program that administrators describe as incredibly eye-opening. Another way they describe it is liberating. But we present it in a way that includes lots of humor, and it's very transformational in nature. So the point being, if we've done our job right, we permanently alter the administrator's view of the landscape. They never see their jobs the same way again. Then we coach administrators and their secretaries in the practices of good management and leadership. So we're not just talking about management and leadership from a theoretical place. In our work, we actually distinguish the practices of sound management and leadership. What does management look like in practice when you're doing it? How does an executive work effectively with staff to get work done through the people who work for them? So that by the end of the program, the administrator is clear that their job is really the training and development of their entire staff rather than doing the work themselves. And they have sound practices in place for doing this. They understand they've got to work on the system, not in the system. And they learn radically different ways of coordinating with their secretarial, their clerical, and their teaching staff to make this happen. It cannot happen without working differently and in consort with these three legs of the stool, no matter how big or how small the organization.
Well, and I think a major kind of concept in the training is the idea of batching. So doing like activities together. So having a time that is set aside to meet with your secretary and sign everything that needs to be signed at one time, instead of every time you walk by the desk stopping to sign it. Is that kind of that idea of trying to maximize your focus while you're in the office so that you can get everything done so that you can be out of the office at other times?
Yeah, and that requires a whole different way of learning to calendar. And that's part of what we go into the discussion of in the course, is a whole new way to look at calendars. And by the way, we say it's not the job of the executive to handle the calendar. That's really the job of secretaries and clerical people, and that they do it much better than administrators will ever do it for an administrator.
Now you've got administrators having heart attacks right now. What do you mean?
Well,
I'm not managing my calendar?
Well, that's if people decide to attend the training, that's what we do. We gore every sacred cow administrators have about how to run schools. From, what the job of principal is really, to what is the appropriate role of the school secretary, to how to design your front office space and your weekly calendar for high performance. We turn it all upside down. And participants come out the other side with a completely different view and skill set that will allow them to produce breakthroughs both at work and in their personal life.
So turning everything upside down, might sound scary to some people, but I guess, what kind of results have you had that, really show that a completely different approach is the way to go?
Yeah, so first of all, our graduates describe the program and the work they're doing with us as completely life-changing. When they leave that course, they never see their jobs the same way again. And this altered view has them see very different actions to take at work. Actions that, when practiced regularly, produce breakthroughs for them in their time and results. So we have people going from working 60, 70, 80 hours a week to a 40 to 45-hour work week. We have people spending 2 hours a week, initially spending 2 hours a week in classrooms, to spending 10, 12, 16 hours a week in classrooms. And this may sound unheard of to people, but one of the places you can go to check it out, we've had a couple of PhD theses done on our work. One was quantitative, one was qualitative. They live on our website, Synthesize, and the data is right there. You can see the data from the research people have done.
And I don't think anybody would argue with the fact that it's better to have administrators in classrooms more.
Right. Exactly. Except for maybe teachers who might be uncomfortable. But right. The evidence shows that one of the primary things you can do to move achievement is just have principals in classrooms, which is why the demand for what we do has gotten so high. People want to know, how can we get our principals out where the work is happening, where they can make the greatest difference? And that's what we really bring to the party. And
I found the vast majority of teachers they can't wait to have administrators in classrooms. They want to show off the great things that they're doing. And I think, there is a little bit of, work on the culture that I think anybody needs to do. Just saying, hey, you're going to see me more, don't be unnerved.
Right, absolutely. You may see me a lot in your classrooms, and I'm there to support you. And it's very important that that when graduates do our work, they really, and they go back and they introduce these concepts to their teachers, that they really explain to their teachers that it's all about coaching until I tell you otherwise. It's all about coaching. It's interesting. Malachi just did a program for teachers in Australia, and the teachers in Australia really didn't understand this. They thought that their administrator was in their classroom so much because he was spying on them. And Malachi really had to distinguish for these teachers what is coaching. And that coaching is really, it's reserved for the very best players, and that it's all designed to get the best better. And that's why the administrators are in their classrooms so much.
Right, trying to improve practice, not to catch people doing things wrong.
Exactly.
So, Jill, you've worked with a lot of different administrators in many different schools all over the country, internationally. And so, what characteristics do you think distinguish really effective administrators from everybody else? And then anything about productivity especially?
Yeah, so the thing I've really noticed over the years is that really effective administrators are results-driven from the get-go. They know the results they want to or need to produce in their schools, and they're disciplined about allocating resources, people, money, programs, time to the projects that will make the most difference in student achievement. They also, the other thing I've noticed is they also know what they're good at and what they're not good at. So they only take on the work that they're spectacular at in their schools and can get done efficiently, and then they delegate what they're not good at to others who are better at it than them. And in the process, they train and develop people to get better. And again, they think about developing resources, time, people, money, differently than the average Joe.
So, wow. That kind of flips the thinking on its head. Usually we think about, well, how do I get better at the things I'm not good at versus maximizing the time doing things that I am good at?
Yeah, no. What I've seen is the ones that are really outstanding, they say to me, I know I'm not good at this, that, or the other thing. I know my area of expertise is here. And I'm really good at delegating to other people parts that I can't do, don't want to do, don't do well. And when I hear something like that come out of the mouth of an administrator, I know that person's going to be very successful.
It makes complete sense. Now, you mentioned time. So time's a finite resource for everybody, school leaders in particular. So, and you can't do everything. And I guess that gets back at what we were just talking about. Where do you think school leaders should spend their time to get the most bang for the buck?
Being out in classrooms, period, end of story. Being out of their offices, out in classrooms, out in the building, out where the work is happening. You cannot coach to improve what you cannot see. That is what's fundamental about coaching. Coaches are where the game is playing. The coaches are where the game is being played. You cannot coach what's happening from your office. If you watch the NBA playoffs this month and going into the finals, you're going to see the coaches are at every game. They're not in their offices while the game is happening on the court. You cannot coach from the office. The biggest bang for your buck comes from just being out there. You'll see ways to improve things, develop things, shift things that you wouldn't have been aware of. You're just not aware of it when you're in your office all day. And it happens easily. It's not like it's an effort. Things will just start to flow and happen easily and get better easily when you're out and available and watching the game in play.
Now, I'm going to kind of finish up here with a little 3, 2, 1. So the first one, what are 3 pieces of advice that you would give to aspiring and practicing school leaders?
Yeah, so number 1, know the result you've been hired to produce. Actually talk to your boss and get an answer from your boss called, "Boss, what would make you satisfied if I produce," let me say this a different way, "what do I need to produce to have you be satisfied, and by when do you need it done?" It is amazing to me that when I talk to administrators, how many administrators cannot articulate for me the result their boss is holding them accountable for producing. They talk process. They talk about, well, we're implementing this program and we're implementing that program and this one's at the top of the agenda this year. And I ask them always, for the sake of what are you implementing, working on, designing that program? What is it designed to do? What result? And they cannot tell me. They cannot tell me. So number 1 piece of advice, know the result you were hired to produce. Actually get that answer from your boss. Because that makes everything else easier. Then you know where to allocate resources, people, money, time to get the job done.
So what are the 2 biggest rookie mistakes that new school administrators make? And it's okay if you only have one.
Okay. So let me think for a second. Well, it goes back to something I said initially. It's thinking that they have to understand and be able to do everything first before they delegate tasks to others. That's just another one of those sacred cows that we gore. They do not have to be able to do and understand all the work of the school before they begin delegating to others. They need to know and be able to articulate the result they want produced, which comes from actually talking to your boss and finding out from them what do they need and by when. So they need to be able to know and articulate the result they want produced and to be able to communicate that to the people who work for them.
Okay. And how about one thing that school leaders could start doing tomorrow that would improve their schools?
You really want to know? Simple, huh? Something simple they could start doing tomorrow to improve?
Other than go to the Breakthrough Coach website
Sure.
and sign up for a training.
This is easy. When I say this to you, you're going to think I've lost it. But I'll tell you, they need to clean up. They need to clean up their offices. They need to clean up those classrooms. They need to clean up closets. They need to clean up. There are so many distractions we've seen in school environments, so much stuff, so much clutter, that school administrators, it hampers everybody's ability to focus on the result that needs to be produced. If there's one thing you could start doing tomorrow that improves schools, it's clean them up. Get half of the stuff that's in a school, we're clear, we've been through there, we've done the work, doesn't need to be there. Doesn't need to be there, and it's just distracting.
Well, it's interesting. Go ahead.
And that's part of what we have administrators do. It's part of what we have secretaries do. It's part of what we have teachers do when we run our teachers program. We start by cleaning up.
And I remember...
You can see for yourself what needs to happen.
And I remember as a teacher kind of going down that path of almost being a hoarder. Like somehow they weren't ever going to make construction paper again. So I had to have everything all the time. And then I think, a lot of people, as they make that transition from teacher to administrator, they kind of bring those habits with them. And
absolutely. And why wouldn't they? Most administrators get to where they are because they were great teachers. So they figure what made me a great teacher is going to make me a great administrator. Keep doing what got me there. And that's very logical. But it's not the same kind of work.
And that
it
idea
requires a different view of things.
And that idea of the sort of minimizing the distractions in the work environment, I guess I didn't really believe that until I cleaned out. And here I am, I'm going to say it right now, and anybody who knows me and knows my bride, you can say it to her too. Teresa, you were absolutely right. All those times when we would get ready to go on vacation, we would have to clean the house. And I used to think that was ridiculous. Why are we doing this? We're going on vacation. We'll do it when we get home. But there's something about coming home to that clean house that just calms you down. And I get the same feeling when I go into my office.
Yep, absolutely. It's simple. It's right in front of our faces, and we don't do it. But it just clean up so you can actually see the result that needs to be produced, clean up so you can there's no distractions left to distract you from the result that needs to be produced, clean up so you can walk into a space calmly, centered, grounded, and get to work.
Jill, thank you. This was fantastic. A lot of things that I really think people can put into action and certainly more steps to take. So where can people go to learn more about you and about the Breakthrough Coach?
Sure. So obviously we have a website. It's www.the-breakthrough-coach.com. And we have programs going all over the country all the time, both working with private districts and public courses that anybody can attend themselves with their secretaries to get an introduction to our work. And, we'd be happy to have people in any city in which they reside. I think I talked to somebody yesterday from Massachusetts who told me she found out about our course through a colleague in Houston. So there you have it. And she attended the course in New York. There's lots of places to go to attend the course. We have lots of free resources online, including a free app that we've developed, several podcasts, introductory sessions on YouTube, and we're happening all over the country, including and all over the world. We're just coming back from Australia this week as well. So.
And I'm an enthusiastic proponent. Like I mentioned before, I've gone through the training, learned a ton, and I can't say enough good things. And it has been transformational to the point where I didn't tell my wife I was going through the training, and then a couple weeks after the training, she said to me, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Oh, I haven't seen your work laptop in like 2 weeks. What's the matter?" I think she thought I got fired. And I said, "No, this is what I'm doing now. This is, I'm getting it done at work so that when I'm home, I can be home." And that has been, I thank you for that, by the way. And
You're very welcome.
My family thanks you. So Jill, Thank you again for taking time to talk with me, and hope our paths cross again here in the future.
Thanks, Mike.
Take care. Thanks for listening to the School Leadership Show, a podcast for aspiring and practicing school leaders by school leaders. Send your comments, questions, and show ideas to mike@schoolleadershipshow.com. Consider rating the podcast in iTunes and leaving a comment. And please pass the show along to your colleagues.